an orbital sander, and I get this over here, and I'm going to bring it over here because in other words, we're going to help you today make a educated decision on which sander you should get first or put into your arsenal if you already have some Festool Sanders. Whew, I'm having a tough time with some of this verbiage today, amen? So I'm going to choose 3 different sanders. I'm going to choose an orbital sander. I'm going to choose a random orbit sander. Okay, and I'm going to choose my favorite sander. Oh, Billy Baroo. Okay. Do you know what that's a call out to? Oh, Billy Baroo, Billy Baroo. Caddyshack. Come on, man. You know when Ted Knight picked up his putter? Never mind. Oh, my God. You know what? I actually think I'm the oldest person in the room. Oh, wait a minute. I am. Oh, never mind, never mind, never mind. Okay, so I'm going to start with orbital. And orbital is basically a vibrating sander like this. It doesn't spin. It just vibrates. So I'm going to use it, and now to qualify this experiment, I have 80 grit on each and every one of these. So if somebody came up to me and said, Sedge, I need to have the best sander for paint removal. And man, I have seen some people inform people they need a small sander, so they recommend this, an orbital sander. And that is the wrong choice. Okay, so I'm going to take this, and this is basically, an orbital sander is your finish sander. It's not for paint removal. And I got 80 grit on here, but I'll start it up, and you'll see as I'm sanding, and you'll see the pattern as I move it. Okay, I felt it, but I also want to call it out. Remember, I always tell you, it's all about, it's an overall system. This was tugging down too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on, and now you'll see it's a little more effective as I broke the surface tension. I lowered the dust extraction suction. That is a huge one. Make sure you use it. Okay, that is orbital. You remove some paint. Now let's take the ETS EC 150/5. And yes, I'll get into that in a minute. Okay, because I'm going to compare, this is, I should have called this the versus, the sander versus this, versus this, versus this. Here's the ETS 150 EC, the lower profile with the brushless motor with a 5mm orbit. Let's turn it on. And you'll see it's a little more aggressive, right? And I'm covering a larger section because it's a 6-inch, it's more pad. Okay, before I move on, I am going to hook up one more sander, which, and Chris over here, so you can see this, there's 2 series of dots here. The finer dots, if I put it in there, it's the same now as this one. It's a 5mm orbit in random orbit. But I'm going to put it in the Rotex mode. Okay, you probably heard that pin click in there. So now it's basically this sander, but it's geared. And when I turn it on, you'll see the night and day difference. Orbital, random orbit, Rotex. So if somebody asks a painter, which sander should I get? And I'll go, well, what are you painting? Are you using it to sand in between coats? Yeah, you get a 5mm orbit. But also, you're removing paint? Yes, so it's application specific. Now, when we talk about that, we have 3 Rotex sanders. We have a 6-inch, 150. Remember, 25mm is roughly 1 inch. That's what I was taught way back when, roughly. So when I look at 150, 25 into 150 goes 6 times. How-wow, a little bit of metric in there. Hey, Minnie, really quick. And hey, I didn't coach her on this. Take 25 and divide into 125. What do you get?
5.
Hey, that's why this is a 5-inch Rotex. Woo, you're really good, man. I'm going to start calling you Miss Metric. All right, so why would I get this? Because this has the 2 modes as well. It's all about where do I gotta get this into? I think that's the right way of saying that. That's what I've always told people. In other words, if I'm sanding a staircase and the rises, I have a small area in there, I'd probably use this in there, okay? And the treads, maybe I'll use this for both, but also depending on if you're using it for paint removal, depending on the side of your clapboard, how big it is. And the smaller clapboard, you'll probably want to use a 5-inch because you have more pad in contact with the clapboard siding for paint removal. Whew. Okay, now I've talked about the RO90 before, okay, on several occasions. This has 3 modes, okay, and where would you use this? This was designed for the painter to work on window sills, window frames, casing, for prepping for paint or removal of paint. That's why we also have, when we put it in the detail mode, it's actually, watch this. Most people don't know this. I think I've showed this before. Okay, when I take it over here, bring it over like this, okay, I have, see the small dots? What do I have? I have this mode right here. Okay? Random orbit. If I put it in Rotex, okay, I now have, look, this mode. But once again, this is a 3.5-inch size. It's the 90, right? And what the problem is I'll take forever to do a large panel like this. That's why I choose the larger pad. But what people don't know, they think I automatically got to put my detail pad on here, and I don't. Look, I have this orbit now. Orbital. So I have all 3 modes, orbital, random orbit, and Rotex with the RO90. It's just I have a small pad in diameter, but I can also take that off. I can put the detail on. But the one thing I want to show you about application is this is an accessory pad, and see how it's extended? And this is perfect for something like this if I'm sanding louvered doors, because this will, in the orbital, will allow me to get right up into that area in an orbital mode, and I can get this prepped to put a finish because of the thinness of this pad. I hope all that made sense. And you can use it in 3, no, you can only use it in 1 mode. Because when I put this in, it only works in what? In orbital. See how I can't get that now into random orbit and Rotex? Because if I could get this into random orbit or Rotex, this would become the spinning triangle of death. Okay? Hey, you've never heard that one. Oh, hey, new stick, baby. New stick. All right. Hey, Minnie. It's a good room today. It is a good room. All right, we got a good jive going. So hopefully that made sense. Orbital, random orbit, Rotex. That's what I wanted to get across to you. And it'll help you make that selection, hopefully. Now, the next one I want to go over is, people come up all the time. I am so confused. Let's go over here and really confuse everybody, Chris. I have 6 random orbit sanders. Well, I do have 7, but I didn't break out the cordless version of this, ETS. Oh, this is tough because these are still in our arsenal. This is probably one of our #1 selling sanders. It's a 5-inch random orbit sander, palm sander. It's price conscientious to get people to look at the Festool system. And by the way, it's one of the most common sanders in North America, is a 5-inch random orbit sander. And we have these, and this is the older models of these. We kept them in our arsenal to be price conscientious. They're about $136 less than their brothers right here. Okay? This is the newer version of these. And at home, I have this one because I like the weight of it. I'm not using it on a vertical surface like this. When I'm using this, it's usually to sand out a tabletop It's usually to sand cabinet pieces before assembly, and it works fantastic. If I was to be back in the business and I had a lot of sanding on the job site, I would probably go with this. This is the ETC EC, EC being the motor, brushless motor. Okay, this has been out for a few years. This is, we want it to be in the market of ergonomics, which we've always have been, but this is light in weight. I don't want to say this, I don't think I'm allowed to, but I will say it. It's virtually indestructible, okay? And you can use this on vertical surfaces, and it's very comfortable. It's just ergonomically, I'm going to say it, perfect. Now, where it comes into a play with something like this is we always joke around is when somebody asks, hey, I'm just trying to decide between a 5-inch and 6-inch, I always look at them and go, what do I always say? You already know it. Do you like to sand? Right? Oh, goodness. Look, 5-inch versus a 6-inch. Everybody says that's just an inch. No, it's not. It's about 42%. I used to say 31% more surface area, but then I got corrected by my friend Matty, and I think he said it's either 42 or 44% more pad surface. Yes, he's a rocket engineer. Okay, so when you look at that, what do I want to do? Do I want to? We saw it over here with a 3-inch versus a 6-inch. Okay, it's more pad. You have more surface area. You'll get the job done quicker. At home, I'm pretty much all into 6-inch sanding because I hate sanding. I want to get to the finished product, put some finish on, and get it delivered into the house. Okay, so I will tell you, if you can work into a 6-inch sander, do it. You'll be so happy. Okay, now let's talk about the difference between 3 and 5. I'm going to come right over here. I'm going to just do a quick switcheroo. 5 is a more aggressive orbit than 3. So why? Okay, so why would I want to sand slower? Because I don't want to burn through the finish. If I'm sanding, and we use this for another Festool polishing video, I sanded here to knock it down. You can see where it's starting to dull. We're knocking down the high spots. I'm not going to use a more aggressive sanding orbit. I'm going to use the 3 with, remember it's a system, a super soft pad, and I will sand out the finish before polishing it. I will flatten the finish. I don't want to burn through a finish. That is why you want to sand slower. Now, I don't know if I ever did this. Let's do this with these, because I like doing it with these. They're a little taller, and I have a little more control out of them. I'm going to see what kind of paper I have in here. Okay, so I have done this before on video, I'm not sure. So this is the 5. If I go like this and I make a dot here, if I turn it on and I hold the pad, you're going to see it make a circle. See it? Right here, look. Okay, that circle, if I measured it, has a diameter of 5 millimeter. That's where the 5 comes in. It's a 5 millimeter stroke. This one's the 3. And then let me set this up, just like this. Oh, look, I'll dot over the dot, and I'm going to turn it on. See how it's smaller? That's a 3 millimeter diameter right there. Okay, so if you really think about it, that grit is being taken around a shorter circumference, where this one is broader, so it's going to cut more, all right, in a broader spectrum. Hopefully that came across. That's the way it was explained to me. But it made sense when one of the trainers over in Germany showed me that dot trick. Okay? So that's the difference between... Wow, let's review. That's the difference between orbital, random order, and Rotex. 6 inches versus 5-inch. And 3.5. Okay? The 150s. Hopefully you understand the ergonomics of the older ones. I like the weight of the older ones when I'm on a tabletop too. The control of it, and it's virtually vibration free. And then the 3 versus 5 millimeter orbit. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Hey, what did we build last week? We went and we took the bottom and we put it to the sides in the face frame. And I left this out all week. I threw a couple screws to bring it together. But I want to point this out because a lot of people ask, Hey, I'm a cabinet maker. Which sanders do you recommend? I always recommend the DTS 400, especially when I'm getting close to applying my finish. And I've showed this to you before, hopefully. The RTS, which I used earlier, I'll always use if I'm sanding the cabinetry on my final grits. Sometimes I'll want to do that. Maybe I throw down a seal coat and I'll sand out my seal coat before I spray my finish at like 180, 220. But I'll knock it down and I'll use that because I don't want it to be too aggressive. But I'm not going up against any walls because I'm going to assemble it soon. I had just finished it flat. So I'll use the RTS 400. It's in an open area. Now, when I have an assembled cabinet and I need to spray it, okay, I'm going to make a mark right here, and I got to take away those marks. I'll do this, and with the RTS, if I put it up against, see how it bumps? Okay? And look, it's already starting to hurt the sidewall. This is for open spaces. The DTS 400, and I call it the adjacent surface sander, okay? You'll notice the pad, it's taped up like this, and it's got a slight arc here. So when I put it up against here, it's got a single point of contact. So when I start sanding, you'll see how it gets right in there. And it doesn't mar the adjacent surface like the RTS did. So I'm going to tell you right there, that right there is the winner for cabinetry. People going on the job site, like a painter, prepping before he puts his paint onto a built-in that the trim carpenter did. This is the greatest sander to go in and get that area prepped. Also, this is a big one for the guys going to do knockout, or they're going into for drywall final inspection, and they gotta, like, they have a nail pop, they pop it in, put some drywall mud on there, and then they go in and just use this. They don't have to break out their Planex. A lot of drywallers get this because it gets right into that corner or that upper converging corner for a ceiling that the Planex can't get into. They'll get into this with this point to finish off a ceiling or an upper corner to the ceiling. So the DTS 400 is the winner on a lot of fronts on that. Okay, I think I have time for one more demonstration. I have been talking about sanders the whole time, and I don't know if I did this demonstration, but remember I talk about all the time in every single Festool live, every single episode, you may buy a Domino, or you may buy a Capex. You might buy a sander. You might buy a track saw, okay? But I will always tell you and coach you, make sure you have a dust extractor with that, because that completes the system. It means so much when you have it with a sander. And follow me on this one. I'm gonna grab a piece of walnut here, okay? And I'm gonna just move this back here a little bit. All right, grab her over here so I don't break anything like I usually do. Boy, Chris, you're gonna have a lot of cleaning up to do today, huh? Holy macanoli. You think we should give him a pass because it's his birthday? Yeah. Not. At least I got him to laugh today. What did I say? I always forget. Spinning blade of death. Yeah. Really? Okay. Now, whenever I coach people, I always say, hey, what's your time worth? Do I need a dust extractor? I go, what's your time worth? Do you want to spend time cleaning up? Okay. Do you want to spend time sanding the material or removing material or sanding dust? Using a dust extractor, I'm going to turn it all the way up with the Rotex. Because Rotex, man, RO150 and Rotex, there is no surface tension. This is a very aggressive sander. Okay, when you hold a Rotex, I'll always coach everybody, hold it back here, make sure the pad stays flat, but I'm gonna take it one step further. I'm gonna take off dust extraction, okay, and I'm gonna sand for a second or so. Okay, it's not always about sanding or saving time in this application. It isn't as it isn't. It's also about your health. If you're gonna sand, make sure you have a Festool dust extractor, okay? Because it is a HEPA filtrated system, all right? But there's another thing that maybe the video here took it. There was chaff coming off of this and it started to fly up in the air. Okay, you can see it? Okay. That's the stuff that you're breathing. That's not good. It's wood dust is a carcinogen, so it is it's a must to have dust extraction while sanding, okay? On all kinds of fronts. Now, and levels. See this dust? If I continue sanding, I would be sanding dust. This is what I used to do when I was a kid. I would sand this stuff, okay, with no dust extraction. And you know what I was replacing all the time? What? This, sandpaper is glazing. You could save so much money on your consumables, sandpaper, which is the tool, right? Okay, and by the way, with the Rotex RO150, there's a little green tab here. And this, we include, no extra charge, a little crevice tool there to clean up with. Had you heard that one before?
No.
Hey, all kinds of shtick. All right, man, we're crushing it today. When I turn it on, I have dust extraction. You're gonna notice that basically even pulls the dust out of the pore of this walnut. But the other thing is it also keeps the paper clean. So on all levels, it's your health, it's your time, sanding material instead of dust, but also you don't have to wait for that dust to come down before you spray. It saves hours and hours on filtration of the air. So I wanted to cover that at the very end, and remember this, if you buy a Festool sander and it's the first time, make sure you have a Festool dust extractor, because it's not just the sander, it's the system. What I wanted to do to gear this all together is talk about some of the common things we hear here at Festool, but it's all about the one word I have on this board behind it, Chris. Why? Why do we sand? And as I go through this today, talking about pads and abrasives and a Rotex versus an ETS or whatever, you're gonna understand it's all based on grit. Okay, so this sounds really funny. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Wait, Matt, wait for it. Minnie, let's tackle this abrasive subject. Huh? Okay, no.
Oh my God.
Woo, woo, woo. Dad joke alert. Okay, so let's step over here. When we look at granite sandpaper, okay, and you're gonna see that's the one I key on most of the way through this, but we have several variety of sandpapers. When somebody comes up to me, hey, what grit do I need? Granite sandpaper is available, okay, in 40 grit all the way to 1500 grit. And someone may go, well, which ones do I need? It's simple. What are you sanding? What's your application? So I'm going to go way back in time when I was training sales managers, and I had a fresh sales manager I was training here over the weekend, and he said, Sedge, let's stop right there. Tell me why we sand. And he kind of took me for a loop there, and I thought, oh, wait a minute. Why do we sand? And that's how you can gear which grits you need. What are you trying to accomplish? Okay, are you trying to remove paint? Are you trying to take out undulations in boards? Are you sanding plywood? Hang on a second. And as I go through this, follow me there, unit. Am I sanding bare wood? Am I sanding in between coats of finish to give it some adhesion or ferret? So when I spray another coat, okay, it's nice. Or am I trying to what? Bring the luster or the shine up on something to polish. So you gotta, so I am not, and here's something you can really understand right now. I'm not polishing with 40 grit, am I? No. I'm not removing paint with 1500 grit, am I? Because it all comes to the point where someone asks me, hey, when you're sanding bare wood, what do you sand to? I've never sanded bare wood above 180. I usually stop at 150 because I want adhesion for my finish, or I want absorption from my finish. Anything above 180, you start to lose claw or adhesion point. So, in saying that, somebody asks, why do you have 220, 320, all the way to 1500? I'll step you through that now. Okay, so when we want to remove paint, I also have to choose the right machine to move this. So when you think about sandpaper, everybody, think about it like this. The sandpaper is the actual tool. You gotta choose the correct tool and then choose the machine to move the tool. It's the same thing as routing. When you want to do a profile, you got to choose what? The tooling, which is the router bit, and then you can choose the appropriate router to move the tool. Okay, so think about that like that. I learned that over in Germany when I was over there. So if I'm going to remove this paint and I want to take it down, I am automatically going to start with 40 and then go to 60 and then 80. So I'm just going to, I want it in the most aggressive orbit. We all know what that is. What? The Rotex. So when I hook this up, make sure it's all ready to rock and roll. Okay? The fine dots on your Rotex means it's random orbit. Okay, so I'm going to turn this on. I don't want to scare you, Chris. Okay? But if I want to speed up the removal process, because that's my goal, is to remove the paint, I take it, I put it in Rotex, you'll hear it click, and now it's a geared random orbit. And you're going to see it's that much more aggressive for paint removal. Once I remove the paint, then I step it up and remove the 40 grit scratch pattern, and it's easy with 60 grit and then 80 grit. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out. That's for stock removal. Now, the one thing I'm going to do, because I really want to prove my point on this, is I'm going to take this, I'm going to put a 60 grit on here. Okay, get him over here, Chris, because I want you to see the benefit of dust extraction. All right, I'm going to put it in Rotex, just like this, and I'm going to take this off. See right here, see this little green point right here? That removes the dust extraction. All right, now, this is some walnut, and hopefully we can see this. There's some undulations in here. Okay, I'm going to sit on it. Okay? Now, one of the things that happens is, yes, it's very, very rapid stock removal, even with 60 grit. But you're going to notice I start to gum up the paper. All right? The beauty of dust extraction is, check this out. Okay, so you're going to see, look, no dust, but it also allows you to keep those abrasive grits exposed to do what? To cut the material or sand the material so you'll get the job done quicker and you'll preserve the paper longer. Hopefully that makes sense. Those are some whys. You know, why 40 grit, why 60 grit, why 80 grit? Now, let's step over here. I'm going to switch to a different sander. Whoop, 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 whoop. Okay, I'm going to switch to my ETS EC 150/5, a more aggressive orbit. Okay, and usually when you have layouts or whatever, and you just have some different marks on here, I think this is 300 millimeter, you want to remove that, and it's plywood. But here's another why. And I'm going to flip this over so you understand this. Okay, so I have 80 grit. I would not use 80 grit on this. This is plywood. It's a very thin veneer. Most plywood or cabinet grade plywood out of the manufacturer is usually surface sanded to about 120. So I will start, there's 180, there's 150, so I would start with 120. And I think I got 120 on there now. I do. Huh, go figure, I always use my ETS 150 for sand and ply. It gets the job done quick. So, the why to this is, what are you trying to accomplish? I'm removing witness marks on my plywood. Okay, I'm building cabinets. Don't start with 80. Start with 120. And just take your time. And in Sanding 101, one of the original Festool Lives, I talk about the to and fro, back and forth, to keep the whole thing flat, and then 6 to 8 inch circles, just taking my time. The one thing you don't want is to put an aggressive sandpaper on here. The next thing you know, you're getting something like this. You're getting burned through, and that's a no-no. Okay? So you have to be very cognizant of your grits. Now, there's another flavor of paper that if the only thing you're sanding is wood, we prefer to show you or recommend what is known as Rubin 2. And I use Rubin 2 with wood. And we used to have Rubin, and a lot of shops were into Rubin, so we came out with Rubin 2. When it comes to granite, it's the combination of sandpapers. It's like a combination blade on your table saw, because you can go from paint to finish to polish, whatever, and solid surface with granite. Okay, this is designed for wood fiber, and this is Rubin 2, and I have that at my shop at home. From I use 80, majority of the time 120 through 180. Okay. Let's take a break on paper for a minute. Okay, let's talk about pads. Recently, we did an episode on interface pads. Actually, we did interface pads on, I think, on Lost in the Catalog 2 mini. And this is where I want to get the confusion out of there. This is the original interface pad. You're going to see how thick it is. It's spongy. We have it in a variety of different diameters and styles. We came out with this set because sometimes this was too tall. Okay, so we came out with a double set, so it's a little bit thinner. Okay, but you can stack these as well. Okay, and when you look at it on a display, they both say interface pads. You got to pay attention. One says 2 and one says 1. Okay, and this is the thicker one. But then we add to the confusion. Okay, but this is an interface pad, but we actually call them protection pads. And these are a must when using granite net. Another flavor, you use this when material breaks down, like auto body filler or drywall. It's a screen material. Over time, you'll chew up your little hooks here, your stick fix hooks. So what this does, it's a protection pad. And yes, it comes in a 2-pack. Minnie reminded me of that today. Okay, you put that on, and it protects the pad, hence protection pad. And we have that in several styles. If you are using granite net, make sure you use protection pads. And it's not the double interface pad. Hopefully that makes sense. This is the original Jetstream pad. This is from the 2007 era. All right, where you had one center hole and these outside holes. And I used to hear people talk about this and say air is being pushed from the center. It's not. It's being pulled from the center by what? These two little notches right here. Boy, this is an old pad. Okay? So as it's turning, air is being pulled, and it's being pulled and dropped out here. So when I put the paper on, air comes out and pushes out, so you get much better dust extraction. It keeps the pad cool. Whew, that's the original Jetstream. Then we came out with Jetstream 2. Okay, and you had, and this is so much fun to talk about, you had a center hole here, but instead of 2 notches, you had 4 notches. Think of those notches as your intake air, okay, on an HVAC system. And then what would happen is you had not only your outer holes, but when you were sanding, you would capture here on your internal holes. But then you had these 16 holes here, and there was a drop for that. Okay, see how the paper from Multi-Jetstream 2 fits on Multi-Jetstream and Jetstream? Hopefully I'm not so confusing. Wait a minute, we have Jetstream, we have Multi-Jetstream, and now we have, here we go, Multi-Jetstream 2. And look at all the daggone holes. But what we found with Jetstream 2 was those holes here were the cooling holes, because those were covered up by the paper. And what that did was create an atmosphere between the pad and those hooks, prolonging the life of the pad. Whew. So, did you notice this one piece, and this is Multi-Jetstream 2, fits all the outside holes here, outside internal holes here, but all of these holes, and as I put this on, you're going to notice all the holes you're seeing are extraction. But look at all the holes there are on here. And what that does is, I have a pad that we broke apart and colored it. All of the red holes, okay, are extraction holes down to the paper and between the paper and material. But then all the blue holes, which there are a lot of them, I think in the entire pad there's over 70 holes. Okay, what that does is that cools the pad in these hooks even further. So what that equates to is simple, 2 things. Whew. Better dust extraction and longevity of pads. It makes the pad last longer. Also, it makes the paper last longer, and that is Multi-Jetstream through Multi-Jetstream 2. Wow. Those are the interface pads. One step further, we have other pads out there. Oh, well, let's talk about a couple other papers we have. We have this. This is called Fleece, V-L-I-E-S. You can use that for a variety of things, like getting scratch coats on paint, or taking oxidation off of fenders or cast iron. I've used it for a variety of things. Just think of it as a Scotch-Brite pad. I use the white and the green for blending oils. It's wonderful. Then we have this one. This is called Platine. I used to use this to polish out lacquers, but you'll see in polishing headlights, I think we did that many with Platine. Yep. The episode is there. We used it with the RO90, so there's different diameters of this. But this is different. This isn't aluminum oxide. This is silicone carbide, and we have it from 500, 1,000, 2,000, up to 4,000 grit. This stuff lasts a long time, and it's sponged back, so it creates a contour. The other paper, as you know, granite goes down to 40 grit. The one that I use, if I have really thick multiple layers of paint and I want to remove it, I use this. This is called Sapphire, and you'll see it's a really thick, but it's cloth backed, so it dissipates heat. And it also will clog less. So that's Sapphire. Now, I talked about it. I want to show you it. Okay, so I have this hooked up. I have 80 grit on here. Let me grab my dust extractor so you can see this. And people want to know, why do I need an interface pad? And you'll see sometimes out there and about when you're looking at sanders, there's some sanding systems that have pads, which we do as well. Okay, we have the hard pad, we have the super soft pad, and we have the regular pad right here that comes with, that's the one that comes with the Rotex. Okay, but if I need to sand finishes, I would go to what? The super soft. And if I wanted to keep crisp edges or removal of paint, I would, and keep crisp edges like on face frames, I'd go to the hard pad. But we have another pad that kind of goes lost in the catalog. It's called the interface pad. So think about this, everybody. I'm going to pretend I'm sanding this round over here. Okay? On a flat, with my ETS 125, I'm fine. But then I got to sand this, what? This round over. I've seen people do this, okay? And guess what? That's a no-no. Because as soon as I put stain or I spray a finish, you'll see those little facets, those little flat spots. So what I used to do is do something like this. Okay? And guess what? I would still see shorter little flat spots. But I still sand this flat, okay? But when I go to sanding this pat, the round over, I have the same grit on there. And this pad, you'll see it's spongy. See that? Wait a minute, let's get a good shot of this. But it conforms to the contour of this. And it won't get any flat spots. It interfaces with the profile. So I can sand that absolutely perfect and not have any flat spots. It is a wonderful pad. Everybody should use an interface pad when sanding profiles. I gotta look at the table. Protection, interface, jet stream, all the different papers. Okay, so over on the first station, 40 through 80, removal. If I need to go lower, sapphire, 24. Here, sanding bare wood, depending on if it's hardwood or plywood, it's 80 for the hardwood, start at, but also plywood, you start at 120, and you stop at 180. So the question came up, why do you have all the higher grits? Is I don't want to remove it, I want to sand in between coats of it. So something like this, I got a piece over here, let me grab this, move this over here. So say I'm sanding in between and de-nibbing my finish, okay, I would probably start at 400. So I laid this out, I have 220, 280, 320, 360, 400. I would look at my surface, and remember, it's a system, okay? Super soft pad, which is really what? You see the 3 on here. It really cements in your head, the super soft pad comes with the 3 Orbit ETS 150s because it's the finish sander. Less aggressive Orbit. I don't want to burn through a mil or 2 of paint or lacquer, but also the super soft pad, which absorbs the energy. So if I take it like this, let me get my plug-it cord in here. Whew, I'm all turned around today, man. Man, we get a lot of people online?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so when I always start the machine on, and I'm just going like this, and you'll see on this painted surface, you see the stuff I've sanded? Okay, see that? The dull part? That is the valley, those are the peaks. So I want this dead flat. I would keep sanding and not sand through. Now, and remember, it's a system, I can always slow the sanded down. That's why variable speed. So combine that with the small Orbit, 3 versus the 5, the super soft pad, and a higher grit, less chance to burn through a coat of paint. And that way there, I can get that dead flat surface ready for my second coat. And that's why the higher grits. Then we move on over here. And this is something I covered in Polishing 101, where you take the pad, which is what? The green pad, and you'll see where it's a little bit smaller than my bonnets, okay, or my application sponges, right? So when I look at a surface like this, or more so, where did I put it? Right here, okay? I have to flatten this before I can polish. That's why we have granite, and hopefully you can see this, depending on how much rough surface I have, I would usually start at about, and I said this in the video, the Festool Live, 1200, and if it's taking me too long, I step down quickly and then work my way back up. But we have, that's why we have 500, 800, 1000, 1200, and 1500. Now, you can see the difference in the jump on this, because if you think about it, 800 grit is wicked fine. Think about 1500. I can't even feel the grit on that, barely. So this is the paperback, okay? It jumps at 800 to a film back. And boy, does this really polish up a finish. But I always stop at 1500. And what if I want, depending on the sheen or the luster I want on the paint? And something like this, I want high gloss. And how do I get it? You have to go back and watch that polishing video, because I like to apply with the orange sponge. And look, it's my 5000 grit speed cut. If you look at this, MPA, machine polishing agent, and you see the number right there? That's the grit. So this is 5000 grit. Think of it like this. 5000 grit liquid sandpaper, and you apply it with a sponge and the Rotex sander. If I need to jump up after that, which is very rare for me, okay, this is MPA 9010, and guess what? It's color-coded, blue with blue. And then this one, anti-hologram. In other words, sometimes on cars you get that little hologram in there. This will polish up to 11,000 grit. Use the white sponge, because these, you'll see automatically, look at that, that is rougher than that. Okay, the other thing in that video, hopefully you understand, make sure you always clean in between grits. And it's a good thing when you're trying to achieve the right level and you want less swirl marks. Make sure you brush off and clean off your material between grits. I've thrown a lot of information out there today about sandpaper and sanding, but boy, I think we've combined a lot of episodes in one, which we did piecemeal before. So I'm really excited to talk about this, because guess what? Go watch episode this one, this one, this one, and this one, or just tune into episode 181. Okay? It covers all the grits, and maybe I've even added some stuff that I didn't cover in those other episodes. Whew! I have written all over this place, including here on my notes, all kinds of statistics. And I thought about this, and I saw some conflicting stuff, but I have a person that I just rely on my whole time here, and that's Rick. And Rick set up a calculator, and we went through, and I started thinking about this again. I'm like, this may confuse people, but I'm gonna show you something in just a few minutes that won't confuse you at all, and you'll understand, oh wow, this is amazing. Okay, so let me talk about, really quick, fine particulate. 1 micron particle. So, and I got this from Germany, and I want you to think about this, because somebody asked me this the other night. You know that stuff that floats up in the air? Some of that's 1 micron, right? We want to scrub that. We want to use an air filter to clean that. Okay? So, 1 micron dust particle. It takes, let me read this, 7 hours to drop 3 feet. Isn't that incredible? Wow. So, hey, Christine, you know how tall these ceilings here? Guess.
9 or 10?
Good. They're 10 foot tall. She went 9 or 10. I was going to ask the other guys here, but you guessed twice. Okay, good. You nailed it at 10 foot. I measured it. Okay. So, let's do the math on that. What if there's a particle lingering up top there It's 1 micron, or just floating around. To light on the floor, that would take a long time, right? Because if you do the math, there's 3, there's 3, there's 3. So that's 21 hours at a foot. I figured around 22, 23 hours for that stuff to fall or light. So let me do this. If you have a shop, okay, and you're sanding something, right, and you go to bed that night, what happens when you wake up? Over everything, you have those fine particles that were floating up there, and it lighted on top of that. So you have to what? Tack it off before you finish it. Okay? We want to clean that air with an air filtration system. So I used to have one in my shop that I used to hang up there, and it would scrub and scrub and scrub while I was, in bed at night. I'd come in and I barely had anything left there. I didn't have Festool way back when, so a lot was in the air. So I just wanted to bring it or explain it like that, because this will clean up the remaining of the 10% that we leave that may float up when you're sanding or cutting. Whew. Okay, so here we go. This is so important, because over the years I used to train people, and people would say, why is Festool so expensive? And I would always say this. Anybody who's been to my training, I would say, what is your time worth, right? We save that for you, okay? Because of all the little things that we do with our tools that will save you a procedure or shorten a procedure for you, okay? Like the track saw or anything we make, okay? But here's what I want to mention to you. Do you know that 1 micron particle? That's the stuff that goes into your lungs. And here is my new mantra. What is your health worth? So that is why you have an air filtration in your shop, to clean that air so you're not breathing that fine particle. Did that sound good, Travis?
Sounds good to me.
One of these days I might do this for a living, because I'm so stoked that we have these, because they work great. Okay. So there's 2 versions of it. Let's get into a little back and forth here. We have this one called a HEPA SYS-AIR. You know how you can tell? Says HEPA. Okay. And then we have one over here. This is the non-HEPA. You know why? Because it doesn't say anything on it. Okay. There is a difference. Now, if somebody bought each one, or you were looking at each one, and you look at the motor, and it has the same watts, it has the same volts, it has the same airflow, or supposedly the same everything, the same turbine, the same everything, and they do. But there's a huge difference. The electronics inside are different. They have a different CFM, cubic feet per meter reading. Okay. Here we go. Statistic. The HEPA has 264 CFM. The non-HEPA has 423 CFM. Don't get that in the film. I wrote it down. Okay. So, how do you define each one? This one has more airflow. It has a different inner filter. This has an inner HEPA filter. There's not a huge price difference, okay? But it's so important to know this. You cannot purchase this and then someday put a HEPA filter in here, because it will show the red light that the filter is clogged. You'll see what I'm talking about in a few minutes. Okay, so make the choice in the beginning. If you're going to be in a situation where you want that 0.3 micron filtration, then get the HEPA. Okay, I'm gonna break this apart and show you everything in here today and go through it. I'll show you the accessories. But here's the other thing that I used to look at when I had an air filtration system. How much in my cubic footage of my shop did it circulate the air? How many air rotations in there. So you got to calculate, and it's just not square footage, it's also the cubic, where you've got to measure also the ceiling. So I'm going to use this, and this is what Rick helped me crunch this week. Okay, so we'll pretend this is an 8-foot ceiling, and this unit here, because more airflow, okay, you'll get roughly 330 or 317 square feet, 8-foot ceilings. You'll get 10 rotations of air, okay? On this one, 330, see how I kind of brought the square footage close? 330, you'll get 6 times the rotation of the air.
In 1 hour or 1 day?
In 1 hour. That's per hour. Sorry. I'm so sorry. See how I get confused? And all those statistics that you look at when you're reading, it can get confusing. I'm going to simplify this. Okay? Watch. Come over here, Chris. And we tried to get the glare out of this box. I just grabbed this box from Minnie's garage. This is her Magic Act box, where she used to be sawn by the magician and Vegas. Hey! You like that unit, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so Garrett made this for us, Garrett and Mike, and we really appreciate it. What we have is, this is an Atmos system. We have a particulate reader in here. I'm going to show you. I'm going to come over here, Chris. Let me come over here. Okay. We put a SYS-AIR in there, HEPA. Okay. We have this piece here, okay, that reads the particulate inside. And yes, the glass might be a little smoky because we've been testing it this morning here. But we're going to read it up here. You got this unit?
Yep.
Where we got good air quality here. 92 is a rating. Okay, and you'll see. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to contaminate the area with some drywall dust. Okay? Chris, it's okay. You won't breathe any. It's contained. Okay? I'm going to use the blower port on the CTC MIDI. I'm getting good at these letters. Okay, now check it out. You know what I did? I pulled the battery and it didn't get turned off. Make sure your CT is on. I'm getting good at this, kinda. Okay, watch. I'm gonna cycle it on, and Chris, I want you to, I got the big light in there, okay, the new light. I want you to focus in the back to see. Okay, look at that. I'm gonna contaminate the area. Let me get it really good. Okay, is that coming through, Christine? Okay. Now, see all that fine stuff in there? I'm not going to stick my head in there this time, okay, because that's not good for you. But if you're using a Planex drywall sander, guess what? That captures a lot of that dust. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to use the force. Hang on. I'm going to turn on the CT. Watch over here, Chris. I'm going to turn it on with the force. Okay, and I want you to focus up here. This is really bad air quality, okay? But now that is cycling. You can see it visually, how clean that's getting, right? Is that coming through, Christine? Okay, everybody see this? Okay, and this is gonna kick in about 10 seconds. You're gonna see on this particle reader how quick this cleans up. And you'll see it go from here, up, there it goes. Okay, we got a score of 50 now. 67 unit, you can stick your head in there now. Okay, 76, okay? And look how quick that was, and you can see it. Now, this has got a little dust on the inside because I let it sit, but look, we're in the really good, clean air. Okay, so I could talk stats with you all day long, but I go, seeing is believing. Okay, now, let's step over here. And I think that kind of cements it in everybody's head how well the SYS-AIR works. Okay, and that is the HEPA unit in there. Okay, next, let's talk about how you set this up. It's pretty simple. It comes in a Sustainer 437M. You open it up, and it's got a cord. And it's got a little notch right here. Pretty simple, all sealed. Bring it down, and I'm gonna bring it over here. Now, this is oversimplifying. You ready? Air goes in here, dirty air. Clean air comes out here. I mean, come on, it's easy, but I'll show you all the filters. Hang tough. Okay, you plug it in right here. It does not have a remote start. Here's the start right here, look. Pretty simple. That's got 2 settings, 1 and 2. We'll start with 1. Right there, it's about 55 decibels. Okay, it's quiet. Christine, you really can't hear it over there, can you? Okay, it's nice and quiet. All right, when you put it in 2, now the flow's gonna really whip up. It's about 63 decibels. Okay, it's about the same range as our CT dust extractors. Okay, I will explain the green-red technology in a few minutes. Okay, I'm gonna turn it off. Let's look inside. Oh, you know what? Let's do it now. So what, I keep pressing the light. Did you notice that? Okay, thanks, Christine. Okay, look, I'm gonna turn it on, watch. So you're running this for a week or 2 in your shop, and let me get something to block it. Okay, watch. If that filter clogs, it should be turning red, is it? Okay, it's not, it turned red this week, did it, Chris? Yeah. Hang on, let me put it here. Travis, put your coat on there. Boy, it's pulling. That's powerful because it was pulling through the. Okay, when that filter clogs, that's supposed to turn red. And this is the unit I used this week for the video we shot. Okay, so this turns red, right? You turn it off, and you have 2 filters in here. Okay, I'm gonna pull this off. This on the door is the pre-filter. Okay, the HEPA filter. Okay, the pre-filter you just take out and you replace it. Okay, depending on how often you use your SYS-AIR. All right. What's important is this is sold in packs of 5. All right. So if that turns red, you put this back in. You turn it on again. Okay, and it should turn green. But what if it remains red? Then what you do, you have a brand new pre-filter in there, you take that out, and here, I'm gonna give you a couple of tips on here, because I used to, when I first got one of these last year, I was like, how am I gonna show people how to put this in? You pull it from the top, and it tilts out. Okay, and look at this filter. This filter here, pre-filter, I'm not gonna quote it's around 1,000 something surface area. This is around 3,000 something surface area. And it's because it goes like this, in, out, in, out, in, out. This is an amazing filter. You also have airflow here, okay? So that tells you, oh, it's gonna go back in here like this. Now, here's what I wanted to point out to you. See how you tilt it in and bring it in like this? Now, I was just taking it and going like this and then trying to put my pre-filter in there. You have to, listen, click it in to set it. And that's your HEPA filter. Okay, this goes in and sets up, and that's all it is. Cool. There's an electrical outlet in here. That isn't an automatic on and off when you put a tool in there. It's just an extra outlet to have on the job site. Emphasis on the job site. Because if you think about it, that air filter I had in my shop down in Florida, guess what? I couldn't take that to the job site. I'd have to go up, take it down. This, I could take it real simple. Okay, I'm just gonna take this one because I want to leave that plugged in. I can put it on some sustainers and I'm good to go. But I also like this feature because if I'm sanding something, I want to get it in close proximity to what I'm sanding. Okay, the closer the better. It doesn't go up and float around all night or all day for you. Okay, close proximity. Or I could take this and put it on what? A CT. And I'm good to go, and I'm good to go on the job site. if I can actually get it to go on there. Okay? And I'm rocking and rolling on the job site. I can put it right close to where I'm supposed to be and get and clean with it and sand with it. Maybe put a sander on there. I'm good to go. Okay? It's extremely portable and it fits in the sustainer system. Okay? So, woo! All right. Man, I should have clogged the filter. I don't want to say that's as simple as it is. Air goes in, goes through 2 stages of filtration, and comes out wicked clean. It's super simple. The cord that comes with it is roughly 10 feet. It's 9.8 feet. It's 22 pounds. Okay, these are all the statistics that you can read. I think that shows you pretty simple that it works fantastic and it gives you killer air quality. All right, what's your health worth? Good. Okay, let me check to see if I get everything. Square footage. I'm going to emphasize one more thing because I have it emphasized on my outline. Make sure you understand that the filters are not interchangeable. That red light would come on your non-HEPA if you put a HEPA in there. It's controlled by the electronics inside because you have to control the airflow between the 2 different filter materials. Did that come across simple enough? I think so. Yeah? You understood that, Christine? Mm-hmm. Good. Minnie, you understood that?
I got the part it comes in and it goes through and it goes out.
That's all you need to know. Okay. There's a few more things. There's a couple accessories I got to cover. Okay. The first one, I want to show you this one. This is wicked cool. Okay. So remember I tell you I had one hanging from my ceiling? We have a kit, okay, that you can purchase, of course, and it comes with all the hardware. Chris, come on up here so we can see this. It comes with all the hardware. It comes with basically a piece for the roller board that we have, okay? Threaded rod. Hang on a second. Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
I think I can see your house from here.
No way.
Yeah. What? Hey, Mo. Okay, so I bet you someone out there's asking right now. Ooh, I got to get out of this contraption. Minnie, I've had this for 18 years. You believe that?
I love it.
Oh, yeah. That's how I get up in the wall. Okay. Not to oversimplify something. You might have heard me earlier. Oh, it doesn't have a remote control. I use the force. Chris, get in here so you can see this. Watch. Let's see. Turn on.
Wow.
Is that amazing? Huh? Wait a minute. I always use the force. Turn off.
Oh, how'd you do that?
With my remote control, I got look, I got a little plug-in. It's super simple. There you go, it's on. Now, I don't want to go up and down to turn it from low to high. So, this is really high tech. Look.
Oh, our friends.
I was doing it earlier. There you go. There's high.
Nice.
And here's low. Remember this?
I remember.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes we don't have a need.
I know. Okay, hey, it's super simple. This is what I have in my shop at home. That's how I know you can get those remotes. And it's just so easy. Extremely inexpensive on that big A site. Okay. Well, hey, Dirk from Dayton's here.
Yes.
I see it over there.
Yes.
That's awesome.
We
Okay.
didn't sign in, but we saw him.
Now let's have some fun because this next accessory, we were messing with this yesterday, weren't we, Chris? Or the day before. So, say I'm doing some work in a really confined area and I don't want all that extra air blowing. I could take the SYS-AIR, put it in another room, and have this while I'm working. And I'm gonna, which one did I open up? I think this one. I think this is a fresh one. Okay, it is, and we're gonna put this on here. It is a way to concentrate that air being pulled away at the source a little bit closer, because we're going to put a hose on here and put it out. And also, if I'm working in a small bathroom, like a half bath, I can use this as well. That way there, the air isn't blowing all over in the bath with me, and it's a confined area. So it comes with this port, it comes with this strap right here, and it comes with this hose, okay? Watch this, let's get this. More magic. Okay, never mind. Okay, so let's get this set up. Now, I was somewhere with Travis, what was it, last week, Travis?
Yeah.
Okay, and I was watching somebody put the hose on, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna use that for Festool Live, because I wanna make sure you see this. See these notches? How there's a couple combined here, 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 and here, okay? This is where these tabs go here. So you gotta position them, and they should go right in, just like this. I usually find one and the rest just flow in there. And then I put the pre-filter in, just like this. Now, you're gonna see these 4 little tabs here. I always try to tuck it in. I always check airflow, always check airflow. Airflow's going that way. And then, you can put it right in. Whoopsie. Flip it around. That's why I have Travis here today. He's keeping an eye on me. So, next, we have to take this hose and slide it on here. Now, when you start doing this, just be prepared that you have to get used to it. So that should go right on. You see how it goes on the outside. I'm never good with this, but I noticed that this gentleman who was putting it on took it like this and opened it up a little, and that made sense. And then you take the strap. Now this strap alone is a heck of a value. You know why? What? It says Festool on it. Okay, good. So then you just take this strap and you put it on like this. I always mix this stuff up, but you take it like this, go like this. And then what this does is this gets you closer to what you're sanding, or grinding, or whatever. And it's got a heck of a reach. Do you know what that is? I got it written down. It's a 20, I got it written down because I wanted to know. It is a length of 19.5 feet, which is 6 meters, and the diameter is 200 millimeters, which is 7.8 inches. See that? But there you go, and that gets you in a close proximity to where you're working, but it also puts that out. Say you've got something with a zip wall. You don't want that in with a zip wall. You can just bring the hose into the zip wall and you can have that outside. So it really cleans the air for you. So that's another accessory. Also, I should have talked about this. I have my CSC 50. We're coming out with too many cool tools all at once to remember all these abbreviations, okay? I have my CSC 50. Okay, sustainer saw, and I got my Capex right here. Everybody knows who owns these two tools. It captures, like this will capture 92% of the dust. But there's that stuff that kicks back, right? That is why I positioned my SYS-AIR here, okay? So I don't want to breathe that while I'm working. So I come in the morning, and then sometimes I walk in, I have this usually right over here, and I go, and I have that running when I know I'm going to be doing a lot of cutting, okay? And I don't know, well, I think Chris would notice more than anybody because we're in here filming all the time. He's noticed, right, Unit, that it's a lot cleaner in here? Mm-hmm. Okay? Say yes. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay. He doesn't notice.